Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Jordan 1 Take 3. So this is Russell Westbrook's takedown model, or I guess budget model with Jordan brand. It's only $100, so if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. But I just checked on Nike and this shoe is actually sold out. What? Like what? How is it sold out? I don't know. I guess it was pretty popular, or maybe the availability was very limited. I don't know. Hopefully they release new colorways, but this colorway is actually pretty sick. But if I do find it on like Foot Locker or something, I'll leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started off right away with the Tracciones. So as far as the traction pattern goes, we have a mix of herringbone and like, I don't know, like a brain, or it kind of looks like maggots. Like a maggot pattern. I don't know, that sounds kind of weird, but here in the forefoot, obviously it is separated on the lateral and medial side by this kind of like lightning bolt pattern. It says Air Zoom with the Jordan Jumpman logo here. And for performance on a clean court, it has a nice solid bite as well as a nice little squeak as well. It doesn't squeak very loud, but there's a nice little high-pitched squeak to it. So if you're playing on a clean court, you're gonna be good to go. It has a nice stop. If you're playing on a dusty court though, you're gonna need to wipe a lot, right? It picks up dust pretty quickly, but I really liked how easy it was to wipe off the dust. Like it would just be like one or two really light wipes and I was good to go for like a plate or two. And then like I said, it picks up dust pretty quickly, so I have to wipe again, but the wipe is super easy. So if you don't mind wiping, then you should be good to go if you're playing on a dusty court and you decide to buy this shoe. As far as the durability goes, durability seems okay. This black part, you know, it's on the medial side, right? And this kind of like maggot pattern is very thin, and the rubber is pretty soft, and that's where kind of like all of the, or most of the pressure is put when you're like playing ball or running or whatever, because that's where the ball of your foot is, right? So I wish they would have switched it up with the herringbone pattern, right? Just put the herringbone here on the medial side of the shoe. So I feel like this part will probably wear out pretty quickly. So for outdoor use, I feel like it'll be okay, but probably not the best. Alright, moving on to the heel to toe transition. It's super smooth. So here in the heel, we got a nice curved shape. We have pretty much a fully exposed midsole, so it doesn't feel clunky. So that feels nice when you're doing heel dominant strides, striking your heel to the ground. And here in the forefoot, we have a nice curved shape, and look at that. A lot of forefoot flex, and also a lot of midfoot flex. Look at that. That's crazy. And also, I forgot to mention, it is decoupled here. So yeah, heel to toe transition, super smooth, very fluid. I had no issues with it. Moving on to the cushioning setup, is probably one of my favorite parts about this shoe. So as you guys can see, it is just foam, and it's just Phylon. It's full length Phylon. Here in the heel, it's pretty nice. There is a little bit of compression. I would say there's adequate impact protection, especially when you're doing heel strikes. In the forefoot though, there is a top loaded zoom unit, which feels really nice. I didn't have to break it in at all. I felt the zoom unit right away, and it stayed super bouncy. So if you like that bouncy zoom feeling in the forefoot, this is a great option. There's just that little bounce, you know, I feel like it's just that small zoom unit that Nike uses in their budget shoes, but it's top loaded. I really like how it feels. Also, it's a very responsive shoe. You're low to the ground. There's really no lag to it. You know, the foam is responsive, and then that forefoot zoom unit gives you that nice little bounce once you kind of like get going and like take off, right? So the cushioning setup is super nice, and I really had no problems with it. I feel like most people will enjoy it. If you're looking for something like really soft and something that has really good impact protection, then this probably isn't the best option. But if you want something responsive, low to the ground, and also bouncy with that top loaded zoom in the forefoot, this is a great option. All right, moving on to the materials. So they're using a lot of fuse, and I guess like a lot of screen mesh, it feels like, right? So when you feel it, screen mesh usually feels like, you know, for example, in the KD12, it feels more like a kind of like a wire, like a metal wire material a little bit, right? But in the 1 Take 3, it's more like a plastic, right? So if you look at it closely, you can see the little strands of plastic that's put together, and I really have no issues with it. You know, as far as quality goes, it's not that bad actually. You know, the fuse, I guess it kind of looks cheap, but the feeling, it doesn't feel that cheap. You know, the quality of the fuse seems pretty decent, and then this plastic screen mesh is extremely thin. Like, look at that. Here in the toe box, just it conforms to your foot. It feels really minimal. And then here, even in the midfoot, look at that. just look at how soft this material is and look at how thin it is. And then for the tongue, here in the middle of the tongue, we can see some mesh material. And as far as on top of the tongue goes, there is very, very minimal padding as well. It is a half booty construction tongue, so you get a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, there's also very minimal padding on the sides of the ankle. I would say there's the most padding here in the back of the ankle, but there's still like not that much. So like the overall feeling of this upper feels extremely minimal, and we'll see that in the overall weight of the shoe as well. So like I said, for $100, this isn't the greatest quality, but I would say it's still pretty decent and feels extremely good on foot. If you want something cozy or you want something a little bit like thicker, then obviously this is not the best option, but for me personally, I really enjoyed it. Alright, moving on to the fit of the shoe, I went true to size and it fits me really, really well. It's an extremely snug fit. So if you don't like to have an extremely snug fit, I would suggest going up half a size. Just like my toes pretty much go right to the edge of the shoe. Here in the toe box, it's an extremely snug fit as well. I can barely curl my toes up here in the toe box, so it's extremely snug. I would say though, there is a little bit of room kind of like where the tips of my toes are, which I don't really like as much. I feel like they should have made it a little bit more snug here in the tip of the toe, but that's just me nitpicking, not a huge deal. And as far as the width goes, I would say it's slightly narrower than normal width. So fit for me was awesome. Also, we have this super high heel tab and the tongue opens up a lot, so it's a very easy shoe to just slip on, tie up, and also very quick as well. If you have an extremely thick foot or you like to have a very, very roomy fit, I would suggest going up half a size or maybe even a full size, just because it is an extremely snug fit here in the toe box. Alright, as far as the support and lockdown goes, I really had no issues with it. So for lateral containment, here in the forefoot, we actually have this like synthetic material. It's actually quite soft though, so it doesn't add like that much support, but I really had no issues with my forefoot sliding out of the footbed. So that kept me locked in. Here in the midfoot, the foam comes up, acting as a sidewall, as well as here in the heel end, there is an internal TPU heel counter. And also, as you guys can see here in the heel, we got the Jordan Jumpman logo and kind of like a patent leather, which is kind of nice. So lateral containment, I had no issues with, and I feel like even if you're a bigger dude, you should be fine. The lockdown for lateral containment seemed pretty solid for me. As far as lateral stability goes, I also had no issues, you know. So Russell Westbrook's shoe line, especially like the Why Not 0.4, is pretty narrow, right? So I had some issues with lateral stability, but in this shoe, I mean, there's not a crazy outrigger, but it does protrude out a little bit. It's not a super wide base, but it is pretty wide, so I really had no issues with lateral instability. And obviously this shoe is a low top, so you're not really gonna get any type of ankle support. Alright, moving on to the weight of the shoe, and also I would say this is one of my favorite parts about the shoe as well, is the weight. So personally, I mean, the actual number weight isn't as important as how the overall shoe feels on foot. So for example, like the shoe can be super light, or I guess like relatively light as far as the number goes, but then if it's super bulky, you know, like the foam comes up everywhere and then the material has a lot of foam in it and it feels bulky, then that is a little bit more annoying to me than the actual like weight of the shoe, you know what I mean? So this shoe, when I first got it and I took it out of the box, I was like, yo, this shoe feels extremely light. So let's just check the weight. Yeah, so it's 10.34 ounces. That's extremely freaking light. And let's check the left pair. Yeah, 10.3 ounces. So yeah, I really had no issues with this shoe. So when I was playing in it, I felt extremely fast. I felt light on my feet. It just felt like an extension of my foot, really. You know, like the traction was good, even though it picked up a little bit of dust. But like I said, it's a very, very easy, very quick wipe. The cushion was very responsive. And I also like that extra little bounce from the top-loaded zoom unit in the forefoot that I got. Materials, like I said, are extremely thin. And support, I really had no issues with. So I really liked the feeling of the shoe. Just super responsive, and I really didn't have to worry about the shoe when I was playing it. Moving on to the ventilation, also ventilation is pretty damn good. As far as airflow goes though, I wouldn't say it's the best, because it looks like there is an underlying material with this like plastic screen mesh, which doesn't allow for a lot of airflow. But like I said, this material is super thin and it doesn't really keep in heat that well, so I would say ventilation was pretty good. Moving on to the aesthetics, I liked it. I actually got a good amount of compliments. My friends were like, you know, what is this shoe? I was like, it's the new Russell Westbrook budget shoe. They're like, oh, it actually looks pretty damn nice. I feel like the colorway has a lot to do with it, but also the overall silhouette is not bad. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, only $100. This shoe is definitely a banger, and I would 100% recommend it to you guys. Pretty much no matter what position you play, I feel like you'd be good. If you're a big guy, you need support, I feel like this shoe would hold up for support. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most supported shoe in the world just because the material, like I said, is pretty thin and all that, but for me, it was really good, and I feel like it'll be adequate for bigger guys. If you're a guard and you want to feel extremely light on your feet and very responsive, then this is a great shoe. It's super lightweight, very minimal feeling. I also really like that top-loaded zoom unit in the forefoot that gives you that little extra bounce. So yeah, this shoe is a banger, and also it is a budget shoe, so it is 100% Soul Brothers approved. But anyways, that about wraps up this performance review. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.